How's it going, Yankee fans? Welcome back to Fireside Yankees with your boys Alex and Ryan. So giving you some updates on the pitching market and really just the Yankees free agency plans in general. Right now, we know that Hector Neris wants a 2-year, $20 million deal. It's kind of what I suggested yesterday. John Heyman corroborated that, and I was more of a guess. Obviously, his is a little bit more informed, so we were right on the money there. But, I don't think the Yankees are really going to pay up $10 million per season for a 34-year-old bullpen arm who is coming off his best season ever. He had not had a sub-3 ERA since 2019, so I feel like it's a little bit of a risk at $10 million personally, based on the value that we've gotten from Ian Hamilton and, Clay Holmes and so many of these other pieces. I don't think it's worth it at that price point. So, we'll see what the Yankees do, but I think keeping that money and maybe, going after a different guy. In fact, another bullpen arm has just been connected to the Yankees, and I'm going to let Ryan kind of take you from there because he knows a lot about this guy, and he's a really, really solid arm. But we'll also talk about Blake Snell, and, Heyman also reported that the Yankees are unlikely to sign Blake Snell anymore, and I think that's the right decision because too expensive. He's 31 years old. His value's never been higher coming off his best season as an NL Cy Young winner. I just don't think that buying high on a player over 30 years old with longevity issues makes a lot of sense. In fact, looking at it from a pure analytics standpoint, you are going to regret that contract in 3 years. You know what I mean? You're going to look back and say, damn it, why did we spend $200 million on Blake Snell when we could have waited and spent a little bit more to get Corbin Burns at 29 years old? You know what I mean? Or Zach Wheeler on a shorter term deal, obviously much better pitcher. So, maybe not better, but a really good postseason pitcher. I do think that there are other options that we can wait on and not rush into something that's going to end up looking like a bad contract in a couple years. But, Ryan, what are your thoughts on Stevenson, what he would bring to this Yankee team, and why the Yankees are interested in his services?
To put it into, just layman's terms, Robert Stevenson is gross. Robert Stevenson might be one of the best swing and miss relievers in baseball. In fact, last year, he was the best swing and miss pitcher in baseball. Minimum 50 innings pitched, he led all of baseball in swinging strike rate by 4.5%. A pretty wide gap. He was by far the best at getting swings and misses in baseball last year. He added a cutter that he worked on with the Rays. That pitch was absolutely gross. It was downright filthy. He struck out 42.9% of batters faced with the Rays, just walked 5.7% of them. He got them to chase at his cutter 50% of the time or something crazy like that. And he got them to whiff at his cutter 60% of the time. So I just want people to think of it from this perspective, right? You rarely see hitters do damage on pitches outside of the zone, but at the same time, they rarely swing at those, so that makes sense. Well, what if they start swinging at pitches out of the zone pitches that they can't do damage with, right? You make hitters make bad swing decisions. That's what Robert Stevenson does really well, and that's a trait that, quite honestly, is overpowered, right? It's just not a fair trait. It's ridiculous. He is so good, and he's not going to cost you a fortune. I don't think he's going to cost you $60 million over 5 years or anything like that. Maybe he's going to cost you a 3-year, $30 million deal or a 2-year, $25 million deal, something along that range. It's going to be, $10 million plus AAV, but I would do that for 2 or 3 years. And he is a legitimate, this guy could close out games for you. This guy is a legitimate not back of your bullpen, front line, top of the bullpen, one of the best relievers you have, going toe-to-toe with Clay Holmes, save for save, opportunity for opportunity. And if he's your 8th inning weapon or your 9th inning weapon, and you've got Clay Holmes backing him up or Clay Holmes in front of him or whatever it may be, you're going to have, the 8th and 9th innings, you're going to win those games. You're going to win if you lead after the 7th inning. And that's the advantage you have. And that's not even mentioning they have Jonathan Loáisiga, they have Tommy Canley, they have Scott F. Frost, they have Ian Hamilton. They have some really good relievers there. Luke Weaver, more of a long relief guy, but, you have a really deep bullpen. You have a bullpen full of some really quality arms. And I think the Yankees are looking at it from the perspective of they know that they have a lot of guys at the minor league levels that can come up and fill in if need be, and Stevenson just fits them like a glove. I second you on the statement that the Yankees should not sign Snell. I'm glad they're not going to because I just don't think it makes sense from a financial standpoint to, knowing how the team operates and knowing, look, I get it. I'm not saying that the Yankees shouldn't spend as much money as possible, but we know that there is a limit. We know there is a number they will not exceed. We know there's a number that no team will exceed. And for me, at least, I feel like Hal Steinbrenner's number is right around 310, right? Let's say that 310 to 320 range. Snell puts you in the 330 range. Snell might put you closer to 340, honestly. And if you're pushing that 340 range, guys, you're not signing anybody notable for the next year, maybe 2 years, right? I don't want to put myself in that situation. And who's a free agent in a year? Juan Soto. So do I want to put myself in a position where I lower my odds of re-signing arguably the second best player on my team and the guy who could be the face of my franchise for the next decade? Absolutely not. So, look, the Yankees are going to focus on their bullpen. I think it's the right move. If you want to go cheap, you can go for another guy. You can go for, maybe there's Keenan Middleton's out there. Maybe go with him. I know that Brendan Cuddy floated Matt Moore. He is left-handed, but he doesn't get lefties out, so a little bit concerned about bringing him in. I feel like the fit would be redundant, but certainly can't be mad at bringing in more good relievers. If they want to bring back Wandy Peralta, fine, but if they want to get that happy medium between, hey, we're not going to get Josh Hader, but we want to get a guy who's a real big impact arm, Robert Stevenson definitely fits that bill.
Absolutely. I mean, look, the way I see it right now is that the Yankees are betting big on the bounce back of Carlos Rodon and Nestor Cortez and the development of Clarke Schmidt. These are all huge question marks to me. Like, I can't sit here and tell you with confidence this rotation is going to be able to live up to expectations, because I personally don't think it will. I think there are going to be downfalls. Even, you get one of those guys that flop. Now you have a massive hole in your rotation. You have to supplement with a guy like Will Warren, who's never pitched before in the MLB, or, you elevate Chase Hampton and expedite his process, or you bet on like some other guys that the Yankees have signed who, are all they're also question marks. They're betting big on a lot to go right. So why does the bullpen matter in that scenario? Well, you need to have a really strong bullpen to survive some of these games. If you're the Yankees and one of your guys is struggling or two of your guys are inconsistent and they're not making it out of the fifth inning, you're going to need that bullpen to step up and limit the damage and give your offense a chance to fight back, because your offense is good enough to fight back in those. If you're down 5 runs, Juan Soto and Aaron Judge will get you back in the game. Like, we'll see it happen this year multiple times. I guarantee it. If we're down 3 runs because, Clarke Schmidt or Nestor Cortez gets hurt and, after the 3rd inning, he's not pitching right and he already gave up a couple runs, the bullpen's going to have to take over. Getting a guy like Stevenson obviously supports that notion. A little bit younger than Neris, obviously, is a solid arm. As you've referenced, a 3-year deal makes sense for the Yankees. Now, do you want to give $30 million to a reliever? I think it's okay, just based on the fact that, Clay Holmes might be gone next year. You can supplement that. There's other pieces that are heading to free agency in 25 rather, and those contracts will be off the book, so you'll be able to reallocate that money one way or another. So having a great bullpen, the Yankees already have a great bullpen. Making it even better with Stevenson, I support that. But how do you view the starting rotation? Your confidence in it? Are you confident this rotation can actually be consistent and good? Because I have a lot of questions about it. In fact, I think that the Yankees are going to have no choice but to make a move at the trade deadline over the summer. I think that's actually a good strategy to wait until the deadline to make that move. But I do think that they are going to have some holes they have to solve, and there's going to be some inconsistencies that they battle, and adversity they have to overcome, based on the fact that 4 of their 5 rotation arms are just big risks and what ifs.
Yeah, the Yankees have a lot of questions in rotation. There's no way to put it, but I think every rotation at this point kind of has questions. I'm not saying that people have been, like, the media is unfair and biased against the Yankees. I'm not like one of those people who think that like everything is against the Yankees. Like, I understand there are people who are, for the Yankees, against the Yankees. I understand they're a popular team. I understand hot takes about them. That's a constant. But why don't I hear people talking about the Dodgers have Tyler Glass now, and he has never pitched more than 120 innings in his career? Yoshinobu Yamamoto is a guy who's going to need 6 days of rest, and they're going to need to adjust for that. Walker Buehler's coming back from Tommy John surgery, right? Like, I don't hear people talking about the Rays. Everyone in the rotation gets hurt every single year. The Orioles don't have any, like, they didn't make any upgrades, and they've lost Felix Bautista. The Blue Jays, like, that pitching staff has a couple of guys who are entering the mid 30s. Gosman's going to be another year older. I think he's entering his age 34 season. Bassett, same thing. Kikuchi getting another year older. Like, why can't I sit here and vocalize concerns about them? I'm not saying that to deflect that the Yankees have question marks. They do. I'm just saying that more so to say I feel like a lot of people, and yes, I'm talking specifically about Jim Duquette. Like, this is 100% this is specifically at you, Mr. Duquette. Again, former GM, a lot of respect, all that stuff, but where is your criticism of the other teams? The Yankees have acted like a big market team. Who in the AL East has done anything? What, I'm supposed to be moved by the Blue Jays signing Isaiah Kiner-Falefa? I mean, come on. Like, when Isaiah Kiner-Falefa was starting on the Yankees, it was a reflection of how poorly built the Yankees were. But when the Blue Jays have it starting at third base, it's, they're good every year, this and that. The Blue Jays haven't won a playoff game since Barack Obama was president. Like, am I really going to be moved by those guys? The Tampa Bay Rays, every single year, it's the same story. They get hurt every year. Like, I'm looking at the Yankee rotation. I'm looking at the AL East, and I'm saying, we have Garrett Cole. We have one guy that we know is going to make 30 starts every year and going to be elite. We have a lot of guys who are highly talented in that rotation. We have probably the best bullpen and second best bullpen. I'll say second best bullpen because the Rays always have really good bullpens. But the Yankees have the most star talent. The Yankees are projected to be the best team. The Yankees have the best odds to win the division. pound for pound, every data point points to the New York Yankees being closer to the top of the division than the middle of the division. In fact, most projection systems would say the Yankees are going to the ALCS this year, and the Yankees are going to fight with the Houston Astros or a team like that for a shot at the World Series. And look, I'm not saying the Yankees are the best team in baseball. They're not. I think the Braves, the Dodgers, and the Astros are better teams. But I think that their question marks are the same question marks you could ask for basically any other contender. For the Astros even, like, Justin Verlander is going to be another year older. That dude did not look the way he used to last year. His strikeouts went down, right? They have a lot of injury concerns as well. Like, am I going to sit here and say that Lance McCullers Jr. is going to stay healthy? He didn't pitch basically all of last year. Christian Javier kind of dissipated. He didn't look like himself. They have a lot of injury-prone guys. They have a lot of guys who are question marks as well. Again, I'm not saying this to say that the New York Yankees are a team with no question marks, or that because other teams have question marks, you can't ask questions about the Yankees. But what I am saying is, yes, the Yankees have questions. Yes, the Yankees are a flawed team, but so is everybody else. Like, all I hear about is how the Yankees don't have a good enough this or good enough that. What team is perfect, right? Like, what team is perfect? Who's making 30 starts for the Dodgers this year? I don't know who is, right? Like, I don't see anybody who's going to make 30 starts for that team. Is that going to cause issues for them in the postseason? Who knows? Like, how do you know Tyler Glasnow is going to be healthy in October? How do you know, you can argue, how do you know Verlander is going to be healthy next year? How do you know, for the Rays, that any of their stars are ever going to be healthy? I mean, last year, they had 3 different guys get Tommy John surgery, McClanahan, Springs, and Rasmussen. Like, that's something that just happens to that pitching staff. They consistently get hurt. They don't have durable pitching. I'm just floating this out here to say, the Yankees do have questions, but they also have an extremely talented rotation. They also have a rotation that projects pretty well, and they also have the upper-level minor league depth to kind of sustain their issues. Last year, Carlos Rodon was horrible, and Nestor Cortez was horrible, and both those guys were hurt, and only Schmidt and Cole made 30 starts, and they still finished, 10th in ERA for their team? Like, they still prevent runs. That's something they're going to do really well. They're going to score a ton of runs next year because they have Judge and Soto. As long as those two guys don't have any freak accidents, they're going to be healthy, and they're going to give the Yankees enough run production. They have a lot of guys in that lineup that are good flyers to take, that are good upside guys, that can be solid hitters for them next year. They have a good enough bullpen that they can bridge the gap if they lose a starter. I mean, for Christ's sake, we were winning games where you're starting Luke Weaver, bridging it to Johnny Brito, and then tossing it to the bullpen. And we were shutting teams down pitching-wise, right? Now imagine with Marcus Stroman instead, or Nestor Cortez instead, or Carlos Rodon instead. You expect the run prevention to get better. I expect the run production to get better. I think this team's going to be good enough. And ultimately, the team you are right now is not the team you are in the postseason. Their deadline's going to define them. How many teams define their season by their deadline, right? You can point to the Rangers getting Jordan Montgomery that last year. You can point to, for the Houston Astros, their ability to find relievers, and in 2019 they were able to get Zach Greinke. In 2021 they added some relievers. In 2021 the Braves added Soler, and that was a huge thing for them. And Duvall and Eddie Rosario ended up being a playoff hero. Like, your deadline's going to define you. And Corbin Burns isn't available right now, and Shane Bieber may not get moved. But when that deadline comes around, and if they were able to, and those starters become available again, that's what the Yankees are going to be, make or break for World Series contention.
Absolutely. Look, the offense is good enough. For what it's worth, I saw Jim Duquette on the Foul Territory podcast say that he thinks the Yankees are a third place team. And I think that's total bullshit, if we're being quite honest. You add a Hall of Fame level bat, right? You add a Hall of Fame level bat. You add Alex Verdugo to replace Harrison Bader's offensive contributions, and that's a significant improvement. You're getting a better version of Anthony Volpe in his sophomore season. Your rotation didn't get worse because Luis Severino and, might I add, obviously Frankie Montas did not pitch last year. Severino was awful. Marcus Stroman is going to perform much better than Severino did in 2023. I think that's pretty obvious. So I don't see how this team got worse. I mean, we finished 4th, but I don't really see how this team is worse than the Blue Jays. You know what I mean? I don't see how this team is worse than the Red Sox. I mean, look, I think that the Rays give us a handful like they usually do, but I just don't see how, we're worse than the Blue Jays and Red Sox. I don't see it personally. The Orioles are going to be solid. They have obviously a really strong core of young players. But we just made some pretty big additions ourselves. And Soto, look, guys, Soto can carry an offense. You know what I mean? Like, if you look at Judge has been our offense, realistically. Him and Gleyber Torres last year were our offense. Gleyber, obviously, when Judge was out. But Soto and Judge together, they will be a force to be reckoned with. If Stanton even shows a glimpse of what he can be, this offense is going to destroy teams. Teams that are putting out mid pitchers are going to get absolutely dog walked against this offense. We don't even need to have the best pitching to beat these teams. We just need to have a good day offensively, which is going to be very frequently. Because if you're an opposing pitcher and you're trying to work through the gauntlet of LeMahieu, Judge, Soto, Stanton, and those 4 guys are playing well, and then you have to go into Rizzo, who's an excellent hitter when he's healthy. Then you have to go into Glaber, who I didn't even mention. Verdugo is a good lefty bat. You're not going to have a break. You're going to have to battle and fight your way through every single at bat in that lineup. You know what I mean? As long as we stay healthy. Third place, saying that we're not going to be competitive, I think that's absolutely bullshit, personally. I'll let you get your take on that because I imagine you feel the same way. The Yankees got significantly better this offseason. I think that's objectively true.
For some reason, I just feel like people have this obsession with, like, these teams that, like, how do I put this? People have an obsession with, like, doubting elite level talent. Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, and Garrett Cole are on the same team. Like, that team's gonna be good. I just is what it is. Now, is the AL East hard? Absolutely. Could the Yankees finish in third? Absolutely. But again, do we just assume that young means you're gonna just get better? Like, because you're young, you're just supposed to immediately get better, and your team is going to get better, and nobody regresses ever? Look at the baby bomber Yankees. Like, everybody does this, like, the future is so bright, they're gonna be back next year. How often does that actually happen? How often is they're going to be back next year? Does that actually pan out? Like, I feel like that doesn't pan out the way people think it does, right? Look at the Rangers last year, where they're a team that you're like, they're going to be back. Like, they're going to be, they just popped up out of nowhere. They signed a bunch of expensive players and won the World Series. In 2022, the Houston Astros, right? Like, they were just a juggernaut of a team. Like, that was just a team that had consistently been in a World Series contention window, beating the brakes off of the Phillies. The Phillies were supposed to be the they'll be back team, and they just got knocked down the NLCS, right? Like, you don't get a guaranteed shot back. You don't get guaranteed help from guys. You don't get guarantees in anything, right? You just get a guarantee on one thing, that you have good talent or not. Like, that's the only thing you can guarantee. You can only control the talent you assemble on your roster. 2021, the Braves, right? Like, the Braves, they were consistently floating in World Series contention, right? I understand that that's a team that you could argue was one of those, they'll be back next year, but they consistently made additions to get themselves better, right? And they're in also, let's be real here, they don't play in the AL East, right? Like, had the 2021 Braves played in any other division, I don't know if they get to the postseason. In 2020, the Dodgers, right? The Dodgers have just always been good. 2019, the Nationals, right? Like, that team had consistently been really good. In 2018, the Red Sox, just again, just a fucking wagon of a team. 2017, the Astros, again, a wagon of a team. It's not these young, cheap teams. How many times has the cheap team won the World Series? Like, I'm sorry, I don't believe in these small market teams to be World Series contenders. They don't make notable additions at deadlines. They have to hang on to prospects because they can't go out and acquire talent externally. They have to have talent in-house that they can call upon because their depth is typically weaker. I'm just trying to think of the last small market team to win a World Series. It's what, the 2015 Royals? You know what I mean? Like, that's a different era of baseball. It's just a different game. Everybody now has got access to analytics. Everybody now has access to data. The big market teams are not just spending, but they have access to data too. Look, it's not just the small market A's that have access to OBP and stuff like that. The Yankees are one of the most forward-thinking pitching development organizations in baseball. The Dodgers are also the smartest team in baseball and spend more money than basically everybody else. The Mets are trying to blend analytics and having an unbelievable financial advantage. That's why they hired David Stearns. They have advantages that other teams just don't. And I'm not sitting here to say that the Rays and the Orioles are going to be bad next year. They're going to be good next year. I will never doubt the Tampa Bay Rays and their ability to compete. But what have they done in the postseason? You can't win when your team in April is the best version of your team because you can't make notable additions, because you can't go out and trade for a big guy, because you can't land that type of caliber, that difference maker. Let me tell you one thing right now, Alex. When Corbin Burns is made available at the deadline, assuming the Brewers are bad or not good enough, the Orioles and Rays are not going to be calling Milwaukee's phone begging to make a deal. They're going to be like, hey, so what's the interest level? Can you guys eat all the money? We're not willing to pay, we can't really afford to go over this, whatever it may be. But the Yankees are going to be like, we'll eat all the money. Here's our top prospects. Give me Corbin Burns. That's what the Yankees are going to do. That's not what those teams are going to do. So, again, the Yankees are a big market team. Big market teams are just better positioned to win in the postseason than other teams are. Like, that's just a fact of life. I'm not saying I'm not scared of a small market team. That small market teams, again, can't beat the Yankees or whatever. But I just, again, like, where's the consistent postseason success for these cheap teams? It's not there. If you spend more, you can usually win more. And if you blend analytics and a forward-thinking mindset with a lot of money, you're unstoppable. So the Yankees have a really good team. I just, like, every projection system thinks the Yankees are going to be really good next year. I know Zips is going to come out with their projections for the Yankees sometime this week or next week, and we'll have a more clear picture as to what that system views the Yankees as. But there's no way that I'm going to sit here and hear people say, it's not like their roster isn't good enough for a Yankee team. Like, they have 2 8s, two of the best hitters in the world, two guys who have different skill sets and are left-handed and right-handed, and that's 2 runs right there. Like, I'm sorry, pitchers are not going to be able to handle those 2 guys, and they have enough talent around them, and they have 6 top 100 prospects. It's not like they have a shit farm system. Great future ahead of them, a lot of young talent. I think people like to do this doom and gloom with the Yankees because that's what they want to do. Like, it gets headlines. I get it. Like, saying the Yankees are a third place team, I understand. Jim Duquette, like, trust me, we're a media company too. We get it. Clicks they're definitely enticing. They're intoxicating almost, but let's do some serious analysis here. And the Yankees, they're not a projected third place team. They're projected to win that division. And I'm not going to sit here and hear people talk otherwise about the franchise.
Yeah, and look, I'm in the same boat. A lot of people are like, we're sitting by doing nothing, this and that. Guys, we got Juan Soto. I mean, for God's sake, let's not overlook that when we were going into this offseason, Ryan and I said, if we walk away from that offseason with either Soto or Yamamoto, we got significantly better. We added a Hall of Fame level bat at 26, 25 years old. Those guys don't come around very often. You don't acquire Hall of Fame level bats like this very often. The Yankees did, and they paired him with Aaron Judge, the best hitter in baseball. maybe right in line with Shohei Ohtani. I'd say Aaron Judge is a tick above, but like, I really think that this team got significantly better. I think that we're gonna, some people are like, we're gonna lose 90 games. That's total bullshit. Excuse my language in this episode, but I think it's insane to me that people think we're gonna lose more games than we did last year. 80 games we lost last year. This team is gonna win 95 plus games. That's my take right now. This offense is gonna be a powerhouse. They flipped the script, and I talked about it this morning. Ryan, we had one of the worst offenses with runners in scoring position this past season. Juan Soto is one of the best hitters with runners in scoring position in baseball. Like, he is going to flip that entire equation around. You have a stronger bottom half of the order because Austin Wells can actually hit from the catcher position. Verdugo is significantly better offensively than Harrison Bader. This team is going to look a lot different. This team is a lot different. And the pitching, by the way, Rodon, he can't do any worse than he did last year. Like, literally, he'd be better off not playing the entire season than pitching what he did last year. Like, that would be better. I honestly think he's going to bounce back. He's lost a lot of weight. I think Cortez, we know he can do when he's healthy. He was injured last season. He should be ready to go. Clark Schmidt has a full year of experience under his belt. I think this team is positioned to take a pretty big step forward compared to last season where everything, think about it, it was a perfect storm of absolute crap. Everything that could happen poorly went poorly except for Gleyber Torres offensively and Garrett Cole's performance. Aside from those 2 guys, everything that could happen that would have been a downward trend happened. That can't happen again statistically. Probability-wise, we're going to get better. So especially after adding 2 solid bats, one of them is going to be a Hall of Fame level player in the future and already is in the middle of that career. So, with that being said, third place in an AL East that's kind of in flux. Like, the Rays are, we'll see what happens there. They obviously lost Tyler Glass now, and the Orioles are good, but who knows if they can run it back what they did last season. The Red Sox suck. Like, they're actually garbage. They're gonna be a last place team, and it's gonna be fun to watch. And then the Blue Jays, obviously, they lost some pieces too. So, like, we'll see what happens here. But personally, I do believe the Yankees are going to be at the top of this division. Third place makes no sense to me. I think that's total clickbait bullshit. But when we look at the actual numbers and actually look at the details here. So, from that perspective, I think we have a pretty good finger on the pulse of this team. But guys, always happy to hear your perspectives down below in the YouTube comment sections. Make sure to like and subscribe as always. And we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Yankees episode.